with the sheriff. It's all down on Zelsis.
He's on 1 HP.
1 HP. Can he do it? The spam not going to land. A Prowler on the other side, waiting to see if someone's going to swing him a garage. And no challenge yet.
Oh!
Zelsis gets the Red Bull clutch.
So today we'll be talking about Sentinels versus 100 Thieves on Haven, the third and final map of this kind of wild series, a very fun series to watch. Obviously, we don't know what will happen with Shroud now in the future, as Sentinels will be eliminated from NA LCQ. But let's just dive into this game, which on the whole, having watched it back, wasn't too bad, to be honest. There were some mistakes, and we'll get into that, but you know, not the worst game I've ever seen by far. And Sentinels, I think you definitely did start to see their improvement as a whole, as a team. One of the things that might help them as well is kind of finding their own identity and kind of, you know, finding their own meta, you might say, with this triple initiator stuff, you know, kind of sticking with it on multiple maps. Quite an interesting idea and decision from them, and one that, you know, paid off at times, but also, you know, did cause them some problems, as we'll talk about. But let's start off with this round number 3, which actually 100 Thieves a bonus here, and it starts off with this early knife and stun that Sentinels were doing very, very often towards A, just to stop any early A aggression. And actually 100 Thieves, this is their bonus. As I said, they don't have great guns in this round, but it's going to start off, well, it's not going to start off well, but then they eventually make it work. We trade off Prowlers there, and they're just going to try and get Will deep in here towards mid. The thing is, though, Tens is playing this very weird angle on top of the box, and he sees Will put down the trap there, and is ready to kill him. So we end up in a 4v5, but now Sentinels are just going to make a bit of a mistake. These two players on site here in Dapper and Shaz. Dapper is just going to make a decision which is really going to cost him, because his position here, you know, obviously Shaz is watching down towards short now. So as Dapper starts to hear these players, he's just, this is the thing, right? It comes down to split-second decisions, but Dapper, he wants to go this way, right? This is the way you want to go. If Shaz is watching this for you, you want to come into this. This is a nice little safe little pocket of space that you can be in. But instead, he's going to come back this way and get caught kind of in a terrible position here on the middle of the site. And that is ultimately going to cost him his life. So you see when this utility starts to come in, he starts to run back this way. But because, again, Shaz is watching this and he has it for him, he should be running this way instead. One, to get closer to Shazam, you know, to potentially trade off if they do need that. But also, this is just going to be safer because there isn't going to be an easy retreat route because of you know, how far up Dapper pushed up here. So, you know, the utility starts to come in, and there's a Sage slow, which means he can't retreat. So you see he just ends up in this pretty terrible spot as Asena's coming around this way on him, and then these players are coming this way on him. You know, he's in a pretty bad spot where, you know, he can't really be traded very easily, and you know, he's gonna just have to take a gunfight, and he doesn't know which way to look. And then Shazam kind of maybe not realizing quite the timing of what, you know, where 100 Thieves were. Again, an ideal situation, probably Shazam would continue to push this way rather than pushing into, you know, what we know obviously is multiple people. I think maybe he didn't fully maybe realize how, you know, deep 100 Thieves were. Maybe he thought, you know, they were still just about to come out of here and he had time, and maybe just the Raze was on site. But as we can see, and obviously as he finds out, that was not the case, and Stellar is right in his face, and so he dies as well, running into multiple players there. So we end up in this 3v4, and I was thinking, oh god, no, you know, this is not going to go well at this point. You know, this is a terrible start. But in this 3v4, they actually managed to make it work with some good utility usage here. They throw an early knife here, they break the wall, and we're going to see a very good flash here, and this is going to be a pretty good retake overall. 100 Thieves maybe could play a bit better, but it's not bad from Sentinels. It really is quite good. So Fade Haunt comes in, but they just wait for that to expire. We're going to see this really nice nade, which pushes Derek back off here, which means that you can't have this crossfire for potential when Zelsis comes out. And Tens knows if there is anyone in hell, now they'll be pushed back, right? So that gives him kind of the space to drop down into towards where the nade actually is, and kind of isolate this fight as Shroud is about to send a flash in right there as well. You see a really nice flash comes in, hits Stellar, I think, so he now can't swing, or at least, you know, isn't comfortable swinging. Derek is blind as well. Really, really nice from Sentinels, the plan overall. They suspect that Stellar might be in that position, and he is, and then, you know, all of a sudden we're in a 3v2. Asuna tries to come around and you know, try and find a kill, but he can't, and Sentinels just mop up, and from a 4v3, they're going to end up winning with 3 still alive. Really nice round from them overall. That little retake from the 3 of them, really well thought out and planned out, and they managed to win the round. So now let's come to round number 5, which includes a bit of a pet peeve of mine, to be honest, which is not buying utility when you can afford it. Because Shazam here, he has enough money to buy at least 1 flash and an aftershock here, and then still be able to fully buy next round, but he's going to decide not to. And the thing is, it doesn't make any sense, and he seems completely disjointed from the rest of his team, because the rest of his team are going to use 3 ults in this round. So if you're committing 3 ults to a round, you're trying to win the round. And so Shazam not having utility, yeah, it just annoys me, right? And we're going to end up in a 1v1, and it's just always like a what if, what if we had that extra flash and an aftershock? Maybe that would win you the round, right? When the margins are so fine. So it's just, I just hate it when teams don't buy the full utility on a save when they could, because you don't know how the round's going to go. It could end up in a 5v3 where, your chances of winning the round are really good, and you not having utility might cost your team. So yeah, I just don't personally like it. And TenZ even starts with his ult here. So, there is danger in this round straight away for 100 Thieves. And that is going to play out because TenZ is going to push past this smoke, and he's going to find the first kill on Bang. 100 Thieves are then going to go for the res. They get the res, but then we commit the ult, right? And as soon as you're committing this fatal, again, Shazam, at this point probably is wishing, wow, I wish I bought that utility. Because, in we go, right? TenZ starts pushing up. They get the fatal in. They see that this guy is here in the corner. They get a kill on Will there with a nice nade as well. And so, yeah, they're committing multiple ults. They get a nice kill there. And then at this point, even Zelsis goes and gets the ult orb as well on C to get his ult as 100 Thieves start to come in towards A here. And they, execute onto the site. Obviously, they're just playing for retake at this point. But it's a 5v4. Again, you have a pretty good chance. But here's Shazam with just, a classic and nothing there. He's going to pick up a Sheriff eventually from Zelsis, I think, who drops it to him. But we end up in this 5v4 retake, and again, this is very winnable here for the side of 100 Thieves, and it goes okay for them, on this retake, because they're going to actually pop the KO ult as well. KO knife comes in here, suppresses the Omen. They get a nice breach stun. Shazam, with his 1 bit of utility, actually does pretty well. They flash in, they start to come in. TenZ is actually going to find this kill here. But one thing, right, is just Shroud here. As he was coming out, he's looking over here at first towards this corner. Asuna comes outside of the smoke and gets the kill on him. Again, little things like, oh, if we had an aftershock for this corner, we wouldn't be looking at that corner, right? Like little things like that, or a flash at this point, right? Just to help out. TenZ is going to die here to the fade. Again, if we could flash this box, just little things like this really could have made a difference in this round, and it really irritates me that they didn't buy that full utility when they could have, because you're going to see we get a nice trade there from them as well. We end up with Bang winning the round, but just, yeah, one flash, one aftershock could have changed the outcome of this round. They could have won this round pretty easily, Sentinels, had everyone bought what they could have bought, and this is just a pet peeve of mine that really annoys me. Now let's come to round number 9 though, because while Sentinels A retakes were pretty good, their C retakes leave a lot to be desired, as you will see, because 100 Thieves are just going to run it down here on C early on. They're going to get across this one way, and then in comes Asuna. They're gonna just send it in basically with the raise ult there. You see Shroud retreats after the flash gets out, and we're gonna end up in a 5v5 retake, but it's just gonna be very disconnected, right? Sage wall goes up, they're gonna start to destroy that, and they're all here with plenty of time just as the spike goes down. But you're gonna see we're gonna have TenZ wandering off on his own, like trying to clear different spaces whilst the rest of the team is going in. We're gonna see Shazam here flashing for himself but not being able to play off it, right? So Prowler comes in here, and you see that, like everyone else seems ready to do this retake, but TenZ, I mean, just look at where TenZ is, right? And this isn't a mistake by TenZ necessarily, right? It's just the timing with what the rest of the team is doing is just a bit off, right? Where ideally, they would have cleared this area maybe as a team, try and make sure that no one is there as a team, and then, come and retake together, right? Rather than, everyone looking ready to go in, as we get a big trade of utility, right? We got KO knives here, we're getting Prowlers going back and forth. 100 Thieves actually do push in here, and Dapper actually dies, and again, Dapper is dying there on the start of the retake, and TenZ is still re-clearing this area. We've got Shaz here now, he's now flashing this, and Asuna is just completely blind, but, he's playing Breach, so he really needs someone to come and play with him here to, make the most of his utility, but it's not there, right? He blinds Asuna twice, but can't, doesn't make anything from it. And then we've got Shroud here, just TPing into his own smoke, bit of a desperation Hail Mary play, it felt like, and they end up having a flawless round here, 100 Thieves. And this happened multiple times, actually, where Sentinels would try a retake on C, but it would end up with a flawless 100 Thieves victory. And you can just see that on A, it looked like they had a pretty good plan of, what to do, and the timings were good and all of that. But for whatever reason, on the C site, it just felt like, they just were completely playing as individuals, weren't talking, it just didn't seem like they had a real plan of what was going on. And now let's come to Sentinel's attacking side, which was pretty good on the whole, but I just want to point something out here about their comp and, part of the problems that you might have with a comp like they have on Haven here, because you're going to see in this round they're going to commit both a breach and a KO ult, but somehow manage to get, just mowed down. As we start off with the Season A that does damage Shroud a bit there, but Sentinels, they're just going to, start to really send it as they KO ult in, right? So no utility. Eventually after this, they're going to breach ult as well, as we get the Omen ult in here onto site from Bang, but in comes the breach ult as well. But what's going to happen now is, because, and this is kind of the problem with the no duelist comps, basically you got Asuna here just sitting in hell, and you've got Stella here who's coming in heaven. They're just both going to hold down mouse 1 down here, and they're going to find 2 kills from it, right? So even though you've got KO ult going off, breach ult going off, this is part of the problem, right? The Asuna here, he's been hit by the breach ult. That if, you had a duelist, a Raze, Jet, whatever, dashing in here, Asuna's just dead, right? He's just absolutely destroyed, dead, 5v4, you should be good at that point. But you'll see that basically Stella is just holding on mouse 1. He's smoked off, right? So he's just spamming into the smoke, finds a kill. Aston does exactly the same, right? Where he's just spamming down that same angle, and now you've all of a sudden lost the first 2 kills, and it's not looking too good, right? And so this is kind of the problem where, Sentinels, I would say for the most part, it wasn't this bad, right? And they didn't necessarily try to just send it a lot of the times, but this is kind of the problem that you have with this comp, is that it is very difficult to just, decide, let's just hit A straight away, right? Because of things like this, you'll just die in the choke, right? They'll just spam the choke point, and you'll have just a lot of deaths. And now let's come to round 22, and it was 12-7 to 100 Thieves, but one problem that they have had consistently here is closing out games, right? Or, starting with a big lead and then just, kind of whittling it down. And it was 12-7, but Sentinels would make a comeback here and make it a very close game as well. And now let's come to round 22, which is a round where, again, Sentinels are just going to send it down C long. And this is something that, again, you can't really do with this comp. Even though they're against a save, although they did struggle against 100 Thieves saves a lot, they are just going to, thinking, oh, they're on a save, right, we'll be fine. But here's the thing, you're going to struggle because you don't have anyone to get out of this choke point. So utility's going to come in here. We're going to get a Sage Slow and a Raze Nade, and it's going to just absolutely destroy them here as they try and come in onto the site. In comes Sentinels, right? Dapper manages to kind of beat the nade, but you see that these players get stuck behind it. Dapper gets traded after he gets the first kill as he's trying to enter it onto site. Shroud dies to the nade. All of a sudden, we're in a 3v4. Sentinels eventually started to filter in onto the site, but then some nice shots here from Stella are going to get 1 and then the second, and we end up here in a 2v1, and Zelsis is on 1 HP. Exactly 1 HP, but then something unbelievable is going to happen as they have probably the worst guns you could have here, 100 Thieves, when someone is on 1 HP, which is 2 Sheriffs. Yeah, Zelsis managed to line them up on 1 HP and get the kill. And at this point, I think we were all thinking the same thing. Oh my god, what is happening? But finally, it would come down to round 24, where it was 12-11 to 100 Thieves, and this would be a crazy end to the game as well here, as we'll see. Sentinels, actually, it starts off okay for them, and 100 Thieves actually have a stack here towards the C site, but Tens runs up towards B nice and early, and he's going to destroy this chamber trap nice and early as well to, create some question marks here for the side of 100 Thieves. They actually send out a Fade Prowler here. They managed to smoke this off Sentinels early as well, so you see they go for a double re-clear there. But then as this is going on, we're going to see that a Boombot is just coming down here as Bang is ulting. Tens is going to shoot this Boombot, and so Bang, I think, starts to think, oh no, I'm in trouble. They're shooting. And so he cancels it straight away, and I don't really think he saw much from doing that, kind of the timing. Not really on his side there, but Sentinels decide to kind of group up, regroup, and eventually they're going to come back towards A as they have a breach ult that they're going to use down towards the site, and so that's what they're going to do. They prowler it early, right, to check that no one's here. They don't really have too much info of what's going on, but yeah, they just make the call to come back towards A and go and hit it as a group, which we could see was the correct choice, as they will manage to get in onto the site. They didn't even necessarily need the breach ult in this case, as they walk up here, but they are going to use the breach ult. Obviously they don't know, they don't need it, so in it comes. Fade Haunt comes in as well. Knife, right, they get in onto the site. A stun here comes from Shazam on this left hand side as well, and they get the spike down. But 100 Thieves, as you can see, are going for the triple flank. Kind of a bit weird, but the thing is, they are going to get caught by the trademark that Tens put down. So you see, it actually manages to go off there and actually catches them and slows them down a bit. So Shroud, I think he actually heard multiple gunshots at that trap. Goes for his own flash. He actually gets flashed by Bang as well. Then we're going to get this nade, perhaps predicting where Shroud is going to be. So Shroud is going to TP across back to the other side. Ten's managed to get one, but gets traded by Asuna there. And then the thing is, though, Bang has TP'd behind him. I didn't really understand what was going on at this point, but what's happened is Bang has come from here. You can kind of just see the smoke trail. He's actually behind Shroud at this point. He's actually literally right next to him, right? They're right next to each other on the map. And so obviously, unfortunate for Shroud, the Bang is going to basically get a free kill. And I was very confused at what happened there, but yeah, that's how Bang got that kill. Dapper manages to find Asuna as the smoke fades. We end up in a 3v3, but Zelf is here. This is going to be the crucial part in the round. He ends up in a really kind of bad spot for where he is, right? They feel, you know, they know someone's heaven at this point. Obviously, they know that Bang is probably coming down here at this point. So he doesn't know which way to really look. He doesn't really isolate a fight. Ideally, maybe he should probably, you know, crouch behind the box and maybe just take this fight that he knows against Bang, you know, and try and hide from the people in heaven. But it's very difficult when you're in this situation to kind of make that decision. You see, he kind of thinks about flashing it and he doesn't know which way is really going to come first. And maybe Shazam starts to feel a couple gunshots coming from the other side of 100 Thieves. And so he turns around, but then Bang comes around at the wrong time and manages to get that kill. We end up in a 3v2. Derek is going to drop. Derek was just on a heat. How you tell me how someone doing this is going to win this fight? I don't know, but he just... How does he do that? He just snaps around and just insta-headshots Shazam, crazy shot, and Derek pretty much 100 Thieves this whole series. To be honest, he was going absolutely crazy. And he just hit another insane shot there, and again, did really manage to win them the round as they finish off Dapper as well there, and 100 Thieves will go on, and unfortunately Sentinels will not... qualify for champs. Would have been nice to see them there. Obviously Shroud going to an international event would have been pretty funny, but it was not to be, unfortunately, and 100 Thieves will go on.